What's up, sports bettors? I have like 20 player props for today, and I know I've been spending a lot more time on Twitter just because it's easy to get out plays for people to tail in real time, but I have a bunch of plays today, so I figured I'd do a YouTube video. We can go through a bunch of them, and they're all very good. There was a lot of value today. So we're going to be focusing on underdog fantasy and prize picks. Right? You can filter OddsJam for just these two specific books. But what's really cool about these platforms is that they're available in most states, right? Like if you go to Florida, there's no FanDuel, but there is Prize Picks, right? This is technically not a sports book. So sports betting doesn't need to be legal for Prize Picks to be legal. It's technically a DFS company because you can only place parlays. So it's kind of weird, but this platform, you can only bet on parlays. Like you'll notice, I can't just bet on Jamar Chase over or under. You have to pair it with something. But essentially what we've gone through in bunches of other videos is basically how you can back out right here. I think this is the right sheet, or maybe it's not. But long story short, you can back out the implied odds on the sports books, right, versus sportsbook. So in other words, when you're playing on Prize Picks, you should assume that you're getting minus 119 in a 5-pick flex, which is a lot better than a 2-pick power play, right? So on Prize Picks, if you're new to this platform, you can do 2 picks, you can do 3 picks, right? And based on the payouts, what's mathematically optimal is you actually have 5 picks, just like this, and you select the flex play option, because that's when you're getting the best odds. Right? So if you reverse engineer Prize Picks, how they're calculating their payouts, for a 5-pick flex, you're getting minus 119. For a 2-pick power play, you're getting minus 137. So you really want to avoid the 2 and 3-pick power plays on Prize Picks, and you want to look for 5 or 6 picks in a flex where you're getting minus 119 implied odds. Now for underdog, it's a little different, and the reason it's different is what you'll notice is on Prize Picks, any 3 picks we select, you're getting 20 to win 100, so that's a 5x payout, plus 400 odds, 20 to win 100, 20 to win 80 in profit, plus your $20 stake back. Whereas on underdog, you'll notice here, if we just go, and select 3 random picks, looks like there's some golf and stuff, it's going to be 20 to win 120. So these differences really matter. Like on underdog, any 3 picks you select, you're getting a 6x multiplier. Right here, 20 to win 120. So on underdog, what's actually optimal is you want to place 3-pick entries. So right here, you can see 3 or 5-pick entries on underdog, you're getting minus 122. So you're looking for value at minus 122. So I'll give you an example of kind of how I find the best bets on underdog and on Prize Picks. So on Prize Picks, it's pretty simple. I'm just looking for 5 or 6 picks where I think there's value, an edge, a positive profit margin at minus 119. So the first tool I like to use is the EV tool, right? The positive expected value tool. And this tool is really simple. It just scans out of the tens of thousands of odds on underdog fantasy, right? The tens of thousands of odds on Prize Picks. They can't keep everything in check. They're baking in, as you can see right here, their VIG, their spread. They're saying, okay, you want to bet on Saquon over? You have to bet that minus 119, $119 to win back 100. You want to take him under? You still have to bet 119 to win back 100. So if you think about that, it's not really fair, right? Because if you take the over the under, you have to bet 119 to win back 100. Right? So that $19, you're not betting 100 to win back 100, you're betting 119 to win 100. That's the juice, right? That's the VIG, that's the spread. That's how sportsbooks make their money, is they want equal action on the over and the under, and they just want to make that $19 where people are betting 119 to win back 100, and they're making 19, or 38 total if people are betting the over and the under. So anyways, let's go ahead and let's get back into it. So the first plays I went with, very simply, are just from the EV tool. Like typically this is the first tool I check. I just look for the bet in bold with a circle around it. Obviously the highest profit margin plays are best. Daniel Jones over 6.5 rushing attempts. Saquon over 3.5 receptions. Banchero under 1.5 made threes. So the same concepts apply to any sport. Just look for the bet in bold with a circle around it. Highest profit margin is best. Robinson under 10.5 rebounds. Keenan Allen, over 6.5 receptions. Fournette, under 4.5. We're taking our emotions out of it. We're following the data. We know we're getting minus 119 in a 5 flex. So we're using sportsbook odds because all these bookmakers set lines independently. We're looking at the market, looking at sportsbook odds and identifying value. Soft spots on Prize Picks. Out of the tens of thousands of odds on Prize Picks and Underdog, we're looking for those 3, 5, 6, 8, 10 plays where they're screwing up and we can get a play that actually beats the vig, beats the juice. So based on the fact that sportsbooks have Saquon over 3.5 receptions so heavily favored, over 3.5 on sportsbooks is minus 130 to frickin' minus 181. Pinnacle, which we copy for the odds jam column, so we just copy Pinnacle's odds for the odds jam column, sharpest bookmaker in the world, is pricing this at minus 181. We're getting minus 119. We found value. We found an edge. Another way I like to think about it is like, an investor looks for value, a day trader looks for value. It's no different in sports betting. And what's so powerful about sports betting, what's so crazy about sports betting is all of these bookmakers, right? They're running around setting lines independently. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because we're just copying for the odds jam column Pinnacle. So we have 7 data points, 7 sportsbooks posting odds, all telling us where the line should be set, right? Minus 130 to minus 181. So maybe it's somewhere in the middle, around minus 142, whatever, sure. And we're getting minus 119. Seems pretty good. We're getting a lot of improvement. It's kind of like if, you had a bunch of different stock exchanges and they're all pricing Barclays stock. FanDuel's telling you, hey, it's worth 130. The Caesar Stock Exchange is telling you it's worth 137. DraftKings 140. 10bet 140. Pinnacle is the most aggressive. They're like, yo, this is worth 181. And then it's like, do you want to buy it at 119? And it's like, yeah, sign me up. This is the most efficient, sharpest bookmaker. They have this minus 181. We're getting minus 119. Clear value. Taking our emotions out of it. There are millions of people betting on the NFL. If you're watching highlights thinking you can beat the sportsbooks, you're crazy. You're insane. The way you beat the sportsbooks is you find these market inefficiencies, like Saquon over 3.5 receptions, and you take advantage of them. And there will be ups, there will be downs. I say this all the time. I've been giving out a lot of plays on Twitter, but you'll see it in, I use this verified bet tracker. It's called Pickett. There are ups, there are downs. You'll go on winning streaks, you'll go on losing streaks. But when you have an edge, like you can see here, the ROI is 3.27%, at least when I took this screenshot in 2022. So over the course of the long run, you're going to reach expectation, right? The profit margin of your plays. So these were some of the first plays I went with. Again, just following data, really that simple. The EV tool is typically the first tool I start on. And again, the market's dynamic. Here, there's the Keenan Allen play, right? We didn't see that before. So some of the picks I'd recommend going with if they're still available. And again, another thing I say is great lines, they don't last forever. So you can start looking through these. If any of these have moved, I'm sorry. My plays are good. My plays have an edge. So sportsbooks can move lines at any time, which is why I've tried giving out more plays on Twitter. I don't control that. It happens all the time. I'll give out a play. It's really good. And then, it ends up getting bumped. They move Banchero maybe from 1.5 threes to 1.0 threes, right? So the value goes away. So I try to avoid the bumps. But again, if let's say 2 of these have moved and 1 of these have moved, just find 5 that you like and form a 5-pick flex. Don't play a 2-pick power play, right? You want to get the best implied odds at minus 119. So out of all the plays I'm about to tell you on Prize Picks and Underdog, just combine them. On Prize Picks, 5 flex. So if the Keenan Allen play is gone, take these 4, pair it with another. And if you want to be a little more risky, you can put 6 together. So a 6 flex. So anyways, let's just go ahead and let's go through them. The first play I ended up going with is right here. So this is the first one from today. Malkin over 2.5 shots on goal, just an EV play. Fournette under 4.5 receptions. Allen over 6.5. TJ Hawkinson over 47.5 receiving yards. Banchero over under 1.5 made threes. We saw all these plays, I'm pretty sure, on the EV tool when we were going through it. Following the data, following the numbers, taking my gut out of it. Nothing complicated, right? Here's the next play. Hurst over 3 receptions, Gabe Davis over 3 receptions, Robinson under 10.5 rebounds. We saw this on the EV tool. We also saw the Barkley play. We went through that one, right? Where Pinnacle, sharpest bookmaker, had it like minus 180. And then I have Daniel Jones over 32.5 passing attempts, which was also an EV play earlier. So what's cool is these are correlated too, if you think about it. And this is a little harder to quantify, but if Daniel Jones is passing the ball more, then Saquon is more likely to have receptions, right? You can imagine if we knew Daniel Jones only had 10 pass attempts in the game, Saquon probably isn't getting over 3.5 receptions. If he has 50 passing attempts in the game, there's a really good chance Saquon has over 3.5 receptions. So this is an added benefit. It's called correlation in sports betting, and it's harder to quantify, but I do like mentioning it, when I see it, and when I can find EV plays that have positive correlation, that's great. Like you can imagine, another example of correlation, maybe like Kyrie Irving under 5 rebounds, Kevin Durant over 6, right? They're on the same team. They compete for rebounds. There's a fixed amount of rebounds in a game. So for players, you'd want to take an over and an under, and that would have positive correlation, right? You don't really want to take like Gobert over 10 rebounds, LeBron over 8, because they're competing. There would be some negative correlation if they're playing each other. And again, it's not super easy to quantify, but you get the point, right? It's kind of like taking, Jimmy Butler over 26 points, Tyler Hero over 21, right? One person probably is going to score a lot more than the other in the game. So taking both their overs probably is negatively correlated, and that's something you wouldn't want to do or you'd want to think about. But again, it's hard to quantify. Now, you may be like, okay, Hurst, Davis, over 3 receptions. Where are these from, Alex? So what we can do is we can go over to the screen. This is called the OddsJam screen, and it works for any market. I mean, you can look at, on OddsJam, any market you want to look at will be here. Like you can see money line, point spreads, totals, all that type of stuff is available right here. I can actually go ahead and open this up as well. But anyways, let's go to an example of one of the plays I went with. So right here, you can see Gabe Davis, his line on Prize Picks is 3 receptions. Underdog has him 3.5. All of the sports books have him 3.5 as well. So Prize Picks is an outlier. They're lower than the market. So we want to take the over, right? We want to take the over. And let's see if Hurst it's still available. Wow. So here you can see same thing with Hurst. Prize Picks has the line at 3. All of the books are at 3.5. Prize Picks is too low relative to the rest of the market, so we want to take the over. So you may be like, well, this is a little confusing. When do you use the EV tool versus when do you use the screen? So the EV tool allows you to compare lines set at the same level, right? This is the exact same bet. Daniel Jones over 6.5 rushing attempts. If he has 7, this over will win on every sportsbook. If he has 6 or less rushing attempts, the bet will lose. So this is the exact same asset, the exact same bet, right? It's like looking at the price of Bitcoin. It's exactly the same on all these different platforms you can imagine. Like it's the same thing. It's the same asset. There's no differences. So we're comparing the prices. That's what the EV tool does. The EV tool compares prices. So when books are, setting the line at the same level, so Daniel Jones over 6.5 rushing attempts, it's not like FanDuel 6.5, Caesars is 7, DraftKings is 7.5. They're all at 6.5 rushing attempts. And then we're comparing the prices. And we're like, wow, all the books have this juice to like minus 150. We're getting minus 119. That's a steal deal. Over 6.5 rushing attempts set at the same level, the same line. Right? Now, what's different with the screen is books don't always have the line set at the same level. Right? So here, Dalvin Cook, rushing attempts over 15.5, under 15.5. The EV tool would compare this minus 119 on Prize Picks to Bet Rivers, 10Bet, DraftKings, and Caesars. Looks like there may be a little value in a 5 flex at minus 119, but it's not going to compare, this to FanDuel, Bet Online, Resorts World, or Underdog, because again, these aren't the same bet. over 15.5 isn't the same bet as over 16.5, so the EV tool is not going to look at it. So what the screen is useful for is comparing lines set at different levels, right? Like here, over 3, it's not the same bet as over 3.5. So you're not going to see it on the EV tool because you can't compare price. You can't compare prices of things that aren't the same. It doesn't make any sense, right? You can't compare prices if the bet or the asset isn't the same. But what you'll notice is here for Hurst, underdog's at 3.5 receptions. Prize Picks is at 3, so it's like, oh, Prize Picks seems a little low, maybe underdog's a little high. But then you look at books and it's like, dang, some sports books, this odds jam column, remember I said this is Pinnacle Sportsbook, the sharpest bookmaker in the world, they have this minus 120. They have the over 3.5 receptions favored. And we're getting over 3 at minus 119 in a 5 flex, right? We always want to be going with 5 flexes. So Hurst, Davis, Robinson, Jones, Saquon, you can like pause it and see if they're still available. And then here's these. And again, like I put my money where my mouth is. Any plays I'm showing you, I'm betting my own money on. I mean, hopefully you believe that. Some people are like, do you actually bet this stuff? And it's like, yeah, like anything I give out, winning streaks, losing streaks, I go through them with you. These are plays I'm simply giving out because I think they're good. If there wasn't value on underdog, I wouldn't be talking about underdog in the video today. But there is some value on underdog. Same with Twitter. I gave out this play yesterday because it was good. It was sharp. It was mathematically profitable. This was my one bet of the day on underdog, and we're looking good, right? First 2 legs hit. But I'm not, I'm just talking about these platforms because that's where I'm finding value. So you can pause it here the first 5 picks, here the second 5. You can see if you can get a 5 or 6 pick flex together. And again, the screen makes it easy to spot discrepancies like, wow, this is logical, data-driven sports betting is wow. I don't even know anything about this guy. Hayden Hurst, I couldn't identify him in a picture. I don't know what he looks like. I don't care. Don't care. I'm following the data. Prize Picks is way too low relative to the rest of the market, and we have hundreds of data points all telling us this line should be at 3.5. In some books even have the over 3.5 receptions favored. And we're getting over 3. So these differences, this value, it really means so much long term. 3 versus 3.5. If he has 3 receptions, we're going to push on Prize Picks. Everyone else would lose. You're never going to win every bet. Again, you're going to have variance. You're going to have downswings. But getting over 3 when everyone else is betting over 3.5 and you push if Hurst has exactly 3 receptions, that's finding value, finding an edge, right? That's how you beat the books long term. You find plays like this. Incredible value. Now, and again, it's free to browse odds on OddsJam here. Any sport you want to look at, it's millions of odds. Updating in real time, right? Any game you want to look at, free. Any sport, free, right? Any market. I mean, there's so many markets you can bet on, right? Like receiving, first team to score, total touchdowns, for like all this stuff you can look at for free and try to dig up some value, right? And kind of the general premise of sports betting is you always should be getting the best line. If you're placing bets on Cook, over 16.5 receptions, rushing attempts on underdog, you're getting ripped off because you could get it on Prize Picks over 15.5. And if Cook has 16 receptions, you'd cash your over on Prize Picks, which is at better odds as well, and you would lose on underdog. So like these extra rush attempts, like this value, it really matters long term if you want to make money. If you're placing bets at freaking minus 134 when you can get minus 118, you're screwed. Just don't even bet on sports. Like, don't even bother betting on sports. If you're going to be wagering at minus 134 when there's books offering minus 118, you'll never win. You're like an investor just constantly getting ripped off or a trader trying to make money. It's not possible. It's not possible. 99% of sports bettors lose money. If you don't even know how to look for value, you're screwed. You're never going to make money. I don't care how much you know about sports. So the next play I went with is, you can see these kind of 5 plays here, but you'll see is like Diggs under half of a receiving TD. So you may be like, how did you find that? Well, I use the screen. Now what you're going to notice is most of these books have one-way markets. They don't allow you to bet on Diggs not to score a touchdown, right? Like most sports books, you can only bet on Diggs to score a touchdown. But Superbook has his under as well, and you can see they have the under minus 160, the over plus 120. They're one of the only sports books to offer two-way markets. Two-way, like you can bet the over or under on touchdown scores. You go to DraftKings, you can't bet on Diggs not to score a touchdown. You can only bet on him to score a touchdown. You can't bet on him to not score a touchdown. It's a one-way market, where Superbook here is two-way. You can see they have the under at minus 160, so getting minus 119 and a 5 flex is great value. So 15 player props on Prize Picks. Hughes over 4.5 shots on goal. Grimes under 17.5 PRAs. Looney under 9.5 rebounds. Diggs, no TD. Elliott, no TD. These 6, bunch more. Anyways, so then what did I go with on... For very similar reasons, here's what I went with on underdog just to show you. McCollum over 4 rebounds. Chase, no TD. McCollum, Brandon Ayuk under 4 receptions. And then that EV play we saw, the hockey one, Logan Couture, whatever his name is, under 2.5 shots. Following the value, making money. That's how we do it. So I guess we officially have 4 plays on underdog that I like, as well as Daniel Jones. So that makes 5. And then we have 15 on Prize Picks, 20 player props total. And again, more bets is better. Right? I say this all the time, but if you're only placing one bet a day, you're either winning or losing. It's binary, which is why losing streaks can be brutal. The more bets you place, as long as your plays actually have an edge, again, this all requires that your plays actually have an edge, or your plays actually positive EV. And if they are, you're going to crush it, right? Like this play has a 2.57% return. It's not guaranteed to win. So ideally, you form like your own portfolio, your own hedge fund of mathematically profitable bets, which is what I try to do on a daily basis, right? I know some bets are going to win, some bets are going to lose, but I know I have the edge, so I know I win long term. That's basically how it works, right? So anyways, let's keep going. What else was there that we wanted to discuss? But that's it. And like, you got to remember too, these returns are very powerful. Like a lot of people will be like, oh, 2.5% return, that's not that great. Stock market returns 8% a year. You can get 2.57% in 2 days. That's pretty good once you think about it. That's how you have to think about it, right? It's all about compounding. I earn a 3.27% return on average in 2022, at least at the time this picture was taken, from a verified bet tracker called Pickett, a company I don't work for, no affiliation with, but they're a verified bet tracker. 3% doesn't seem that great. You may be like, whatever, but it's 3% a day for most wagers, right? Most NBA bets you're placing are going to be the same day. So even if you could earn, let's say, 1% in baseball, 1% edge, that means over the course of the season, you'd be up 182%. And 1% isn't high. Like you can get 3%. So you can imagine 3% means your bankroll in a month, 30 days, should be able to increase at 90%, 1,000 to 1.9K, right? So that's how I like to think about it. I started out betting very small amounts of money, but things compound quickly. So hopefully this was helpful. Let's make money.